I have a question for you. Hi, Yvonne. You're so welcome here. Nice to see you. I have a question for you. We're going to go totally off piste, right? Because you and I have done all this straight stuff already. Productivity. Discuss. When did productivity become our obsession?
Oh gosh.
Do you know what I mean? My mum wasn't obsessed with productivity. Your mum wasn't obsessed with productivity. Why do we push ourselves so hard?
I blame social media.
Go on.
And I've actually got really cross with LinkedIn. Really cross with
LinkedIn kicked me out this week. Have you noticed? I haven't been on LinkedIn for 4 days, and I keep trying to open the app, and it's like it's telling me security check. I had to send a picture of my passport, but it was meant to be that I had a week without LinkedIn in August. I reckon that was a good thing.
At Helen Osmond's suggestion, it did come off my phone quite some time ago.
Yeah.
So I can access it through a web browser on my phone, which takes a bit more effort, or I have to do it on my laptop. But no, because I'm an independent tutor.
Yeah.
I'm a sole. There's just me. I am also at the back end, what I would consider the back end of my working career. I turn 60 the year after next, and that's when I was planning on stopping working anyway. I may not be able to now because of the way my work has changed. And my LinkedIn is just full of people who are in a different stage of their working life. And a lot of them are trying to build a business, trying to expand what they're doing. But I've actually got really good at not feeling intimidated and not feeling that, I need to do better at this stuff, because I'm really happy with where I'm at.
And
what I'm doing. But you're right, I like lists. I like crossing things off lists. And if I do something which isn't on the list, I then write it on the list and cross it off. Do you do that?
Not me. You know me better. I'm not a list person. I'm a splurge of creativity and then go and hide in a corner.
Yeah. I was unofficially diagnosed with mild autistic tendencies about 4 years ago. And having been to a webinar recently, I suspect I'm also ADHD to a certain extent. And there are, it isn't yes or no. It's, as we know, it's, I don't even like to use the word spectrum because it's
or comorbid, because that's also not a nice word.
No, it isn't. So I've now that I'm aware, I've noticed now why I find it so hard to be what I would call productive is because I am easily distracted and I have a low boredom threshold. So I will do something for a while, and if it's really not filling my happy tanks, then I'll do something else. And
so it's about accountability. It's about creating guardrails for yourself. And there is a need to be productive, because as a freelancer, you need to make sure that you are doing the things that will get you the work that you need to be able to do more things.
Exactly.
But there is still a major focus, and I don't know, like you mentioned your LinkedIn profile, I don't know whether it's because of the circles we move in and what we're like and how curious and how much we love to learn, but I feel bombarded with expectations about productivity at the moment. Is that just me?
Yes, no, I get it. And because I'm not into things like passive income, that my focus has always been on I like doing the tutoring stuff.
Short face.
Absolutely. And I don't have the patience possibly to then sit down and actually create stuff which can then generate income once it's done once, and then it continues to...
Let's talk about that for a bit. Can I open the floor out to Claire and Yvonne?
Yeah, of course.
We're talking about two things now. We're talking about productivity and we're talking about passive income. What are your thoughts?
I am currently in the process of creating products for passive income. So I am completely the opposite to Dee in that respect.
Tell us more.
So I was a tutor going out to people before COVID. I always wanted to do it online. And before COVID, I managed to find one student, and not from my end, their end, the technology was just not up to the job. So I just found online wasn't going to work. And then COVID happened, and now I'm 100% online. And so from there, it's developed into I need resources. That there's fantastic resources out there, but there's always something that's not quite what you want. So I started creating my own, and it's just led from there into a whole spectrum of assessments, activities, quizzes, and then reviews to show progress and all that type of thing.
Are you enjoying making them?
Love it. The thing you said about being obsessed with productivity, having just spent 2 weeks in Devon with my husband, I realised that I haven't been investing time with my husband because, well, there's a lot of decorating and house renovation going on. So he's been concentrating on that. So I hide myself away in my office and get on with my thing. And coming back from holiday, I've said, no, I'm going to have my weekends where I do other things. Whether that is with Kevin or not is not so important, but I need to get a bit more of a balance. But I'm an obsessive personality. So I get obsessed with something, and then I might set it aside for 6 months, and then I'll pick it up again and be obsessed. So, but this obsession has lasted nearly 2 years, but I'm also, from what Dee was saying, maths, I'm also maths. And the curriculum from year 7 to year 12, 13 is huge. So I'm still thinking it's going to take me 2 or 3 years to get it exactly where I want it to be.
I think the self-awareness in all of that is so beautiful, isn't it? You know, yesterday Sarah Capewell did that stunning session, which you can see on recording in the community, and she said that the reason why she started tutoring students in China was because she realized that she wasn't seeing her friends and family enough because she was working on sociable hours after schools and weekends, and so she completely changed her niche in order to get back her life. And again, you know, of course, you have to crash before you realize that's what's happening, unfortunately. But to be able to be intentional and make those decisions is, I feel like it's one of the things we can support each other with. That sort of notice what's happening and consider what would be best for you. Though that intentionality is something that's much easier to do in community.
I mean, that is one of the reasons I did start looking for other work. So that I didn't have to do weekends, because to pay the bills, to get the hours in, students are mostly available at weekends.
Yeah.
But that's where I started working with Nudge, because a lot of their work is within the school day. So I have managed to change things, but working from home, I do like the idea that I can have 2 hours off on a Thursday afternoon, or pop out at random times, as long as I'm fulfilling my commitment of doing the online face-to-face stuff with students at the time arranged.
Yeah, absolutely. Yvonne, what are your thoughts? Oh, sorry. Dee, should we let Yvonne join in?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, I've been asked to create some passive income for another tutoring company. I haven't done any of my own yet, but it's one of those things that's on my to-do list, and it's finding time to sit down and be able to do it. That I'm in a particularly high area for things like 11 plus, so they're very keen for 11 plus packages to be put together, and there's never enough material for parents and teachers to use. So yeah, it's on the to-do list, but it's finding time to sit down and really go through and ensure that what you're doing is not also, you've got sort of like I'm trying to think of the word, copyright you've got to ensure that you're not, you know, you're not breaching copyright laws, and that's the time consuming thing.
I agree with the copyright. I've been very careful to make sure that I create everything myself, but I guess in maths there's only so many ways that you can do 2 + 3, that type of thing. So there are going to be repeats in there. One of the things I have started using, and I know there's a lot of controversy about it, is ChatGPT. It frightens me when you ask ChatGPT to create 5 questions on a particular topic and give the answers. It is staggering how often it gives the wrong answers. And the thing that worries me is that students will use it thinking that it's always right, and they don't know that there's wrong answers in there. But as a tutor creating resources, knowing my subject, it's brilliant because it can come up with random questions for you that are more or less just copy or tweak or whatever. But then I have to make sure that my solutions and answers are correct. And that also needs copying and tweaking and all that sort of thing. But it's saved me so much time.
I experimented when I first left my last job. This must have been in lockdown in 2020, with actually recording a video. I actually did a very short video about prime factorization or something. But then I found myself, because of the way that I am, tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it. And this was the problem I had when I was teaching in the classroom for 2 years, is that my planning took forever because I didn't obey the 80-20 rule. And and I wanted it to be 100% right before I was happy with it. So my fear is that if I go down the passive income route and start exploring ways of developing stuff, is that will become all consuming. I know it will be a finite period of time, but I'm also aware that this late in my career, I remarried early last year. I've only got a certain amount of time, that actually I don't need that in my life. I can manage the way that I am. I know that it's going to take me down rabbit holes that would be lovely to go down, but actually are not going to be beneficial to other areas of my life. So although I'd love to do it, I'm having to put that to one side.
I'm interested in that putting to one side bit again, the intentionality, because Yvonne just said it's on my to-do list, but it's finding time. So the answer, of course, with finding time is deleting.
Well, I tried to delete, but for the because when I agreed to do this work for this other company, it was back at sort of Easter time, and I said yes, maybe May, and I said I could get it done by this time, and I was actually working full time at in a school at the time, and then of course I decided to develop and grow my tutoring companies, and so that has really taken off. And then this summer I just literally haven't stopped. I mean, and at the end, by the time it came to July, I said to them, I said, I can't do it. I haven't got the time to do it. And I was willing to coordinate other teachers to do it for the company so they could get it done. But they weren't they weren't overly happy with that. But actually I thought, well, that's okay. So I didn't hear anything more. And then suddenly they've got in touch with me this week saying, do you think you can still do it for us? So I can't, they just won't let me, I can't delete it because they won't let me. They want me to do this work. And I've just thought, well, I just come back to them and say, I'll see what I can do. I can't promise anything because it's just depends on how, I mean, I'm just so busy.
Well, it sounds like you did delete it and it floated back up again and you'll make another decision. But that's it, isn't it? You know, I'm thinking again about GCSE results day, and I'm thinking about how, you know, we keep reminding our children not to focus on outcomes and to focus on the journey and to focus on, you know, a longer term vision than just you know, one day when you release a thing. And it seems to me, you know, I'm listening at the moment to Ken Robinson's last book, which is well worth your time, Imagine If, where he's sort of unpicking all the problems with education and society and some of the solutions, and it's so inspiring. And he said something that just really struck me. He said, the revolution is well underway. All we need to do is participate. And that's a really, really inspiring place to be. And if you think about the fact that we've spoken about GCSE results with a focus on well-being and life outcomes, and not worrying about which university they go to, because we know that that's neither the be all, nor a guarantee. Yeah. So there's a whole lot of complex thinking that we can do to make it all more meaningful. But it has to start with us. It has to start with us deciding how to use our time, us deciding how to eat appropriately, me deciding to improve my step count, all of the things. And doing that in community feels like the right way to do it for me.
I will say this, I've said this before and I will say it again, finding QT was a complete game changer for me. I'd reached out on Twitter to other maths teachers because I knew I needed to sort out my CPD. I hadn't taught in a classroom since 2007. The language that was being used about lesson planning had changed. They weren't calling early careers teachers early careers. They were calling them early careers teachers. Now they weren't NQTs anymore. I had no idea what an exit ticket was, all this kind of stuff. And then I'd found MassConf online, which is where I met Helen Osmond, and then she
fantastic.
QT.
Yeah.
And that sudden realization that there are a whole load of people out there, a lot of people out there, all trying to do the same thing as you, and all feeling like they're doing it on their own.
Yeah.
And a lot of them feeling like they really, that imposter syndrome and all those other things. Yeah. And I mean, you quoted it back at me. I didn't realize I needed supporting until I was being supported.
Isn't that gorgeous? And Julie Shanley Edwards said this week, she said she left school because she didn't feel supported. That's what it came down to.
Terrible.
It's massive.
But I experienced it too.
We all did.
I only 2 years. I mean, I qualified. I turned 40 during my PGCE year. I managed 2 years in a classroom. I still can't, reflecting on it, I still don't know how I came out the other side of that in one piece. But the first year I was teaching, and I had to mark coursework, and I didn't like the way the school dealt with coursework. If the students after 6 weeks hadn't got the level that they needed for whatever particular grade they had, they were hauled in after school, and we effectively did the coursework for them. And then my coursework, I marked it, and then my coursework was given to the rest of the department to remark because they weren't happy with the way I'd marked it, because they reckoned I'd been too harsh. But I'd followed all the guidelines.
That's hard. That's really hard. Claire, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the thing you were saying, Dee, about the connections and the support. I'm listening to you talk and I'm thinking, wow. I went back to university at 38 to do teacher training. I did 4 years in a classroom. I don't know how I survived it. I left teaching at 18.5 stone, set up my own business and lost 8.5 stone in 2 years. Wow. So all the things you're saying and the connections and support, I'm sitting here thinking, it's not just me. The hating teaching. No, not hating teaching. No. That's the wrong thing. Hating classroom teaching and the system.
Yes,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
I've taught for 28 years in a classroom. I've been in education for 28 years, and the changes that have occurred over that time, it's the accountability now and the expectation of going beyond what you originally expected to do. I mean, I moved from state school into a private independent school sort of 19 years ago, and when I moved into independent school, it was a lot easier because it was like you didn't have as much to do. You didn't have a class of 30, you had small classes, and you had specialized teachers, so you had more non-contact time. All that's going. I mean, we still have the small classes, but what you're being asked to do is more and more and more, and it's just getting impossible. It really is, even in the independent sector.
Yeah, going back to teacher training at 38, I had this dream that school was going to be exactly what it was when I was a student at school, and it just was so different.
I famously said to the mentor in my second teaching placement, I've come into teaching to teach, not to do riot control. And he looked at me, and I And it wasn't until I'd actually been in a classroom for a few months that I recalled that look and thinking, you said, yeah.
There was
and the whole classroom management thing was really where I struggled.
Yeah, there were so many breaking points for me, but one of the things you mentioned there, I'm standing there thinking, why am I having an argument with a 14-year-old over whether or not you're chewing gum? And I'm here to give you an education. And I can even feel my anger rising now. And this was 10 years ago. I left teaching. Well, it was 2016 I left teaching, but I was there 2012 to 2016. And yet I can still feel that anger in me. You know, how can this child not understand what I'm offering them? And they're just standing there going, I'm not chewing gum.
Yeah, but it's the system that's made them behave like that, and you feel frustrated, and the gift of education being lost along the way. I remember fussing about dangly earrings and children wearing the wrong shoes. I was primary school in a girls' school, and what a sad thing to have to spend time getting confrontational with them and their mums because they forgot to take nail varnish off before they came into school. What a waste of everybody's time and commitment.
Don't get me started on rolled up skirts.
I have a 14-year-old daughter. The skirts are very well rolled up in our house.
I mean, I sort of understand that you need those standards in a school setting. As a tutor, as long as there's nothing inappropriate going on, you can ride over that. I'm not really bothered if a student's chewing gum or got long earrings, or sometimes a student's got amazing nails that are too long to work with, but you see that online and you actually make a connection with that. Whereas in a school, you know, you'd be saying you need to take those nails off or whatever, but as a tutor, you make a comment and it boosts their confidence.
That's right. That's exactly right. It becomes a reasonable adjustment as well, because they type with the finger pad instead of the voice. They're very adaptable. We have more people joining us right now. Odette is joining as well, which is a rare treat. So I'm going to make a suggestion. What do you guys think about turning these Thursdays, rather than having one-to-one interviews, actually doing a conversation like this?
Yeah.
I think so
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I mean, for me, I've got a backlog of people to book in, and this was really fresh, wasn't it?
I mean, that panel that we did during LTF4, that worked really, really well.
Yeah, it was lovely. Odette, do you know that you're green, darling?
Yeah, I was about to say, who let Shrek in?
Are you at an ice rink? Oh, I love it. I love them. Tell them I miss them. Okay, so listen, so we've got 5 minutes left before I jump into my car to drive back down to London. And I wanted to ask your permission if it would be all right for me to let you know a little bit more about the QT Awards. Is that okay with you? Thank you. So we launched the QT Awards last week, and the first people who have completed have really, really proven to me how helpful and valuable it is. They've also now tested it, so all the mistakes have now been fixed, which was useful. What we found is that the process of self-evaluating against being safe, skilled and supported, and having a really clear and transparent framework for what the criteria would be, has been helpful in helping us each to chart our own professional development and celebrate our expertise. Because Odette and I have been testing this approach now with, I think, 60 or so tutors. And what we found is they don't know how good they are. They don't know how well they're doing. And the first thing that we have been appreciating is this sort of like sitting tall in your seat feeling. Yeah. Yesterday, I looked through somebody's CPD record, and Dee, you and I were talking about CPD earlier. And what she'd done was, you know, of course, I give a template for doing the CPD, and she filled in her own template. And at the end, she wrote, "This was really helpful. Thank you. Now I notice what I'm doing, what I need to do next, and to write things down." And you know, I'm not giving anybody more homework to do, but I think that because of who we are and what we're like, the idea of an award that is actually growth oriented and all about lifelong learning has been responded to really, really well. So if you want to do your QT award, and what's lovely about it is also it appears on your membership card. So you know that I gave you a couple of weeks ago a new silver membership card. So there, Yvonne, do you have one?
No, because I literally joined this morning.
Welcome!
Hey.
That is great news. So there is a secret, you know, you've got a green shield in your card. Claire, you'll have seen yours, and Dee. So underneath that green shield, there is a secret field that once you've done your QT award will populate there, and it will say QT Foundation Award, QT Advanced Award, QT Mastery Award. Now, about 6% of people that we've done it with so far have achieved mastery, which is really, really, really a good sign. Yeah, because we want mastery to be something to point towards. And then one of the people who did achieve mastery, Charlotte Watson, said, it feels like a Michelin star. Once you get it, you got to dig deeper into it. So again, what I'm so proud about is that we've created something that is informative for our clients. Yeah, we want parents to know that you are blooming awesome. But we also need you to know that and feel that and be more of that. And so we've created this resource, Odette and I together, that's doing two things at the same time, and hopefully is really going to boost our well-being and boost professionalism without creating accountability. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's all about. Would you like me to email you the link, the members link, which is extra discounted after the session? Would that be all right? Awesome. So I'll do that, and you can use it in your own time. Are there any questions you want to ask me about it? Or one of the questions that people keep asking me is, will it need to be renewed every year? And the answer is absolutely not, because if that's your level of achievement, it will still be there next year. You know, your degrees will be the same, your years in the classroom will be the same. If you want to renew it because you think you'll go up a category, then you're welcome to do that at any time. The other thing that I don't know if I've made clear yet is that there's 45 days within which to complete it, because you may well do the self-assessment first, then realize that there's adjustments you can make to take yourself up a level, and then you can submit your evidence once you've done that work. So any other questions? Okay, are you up for it? Are you going to have a go? Oh, I'm so glad.
I'm seriously thinking about it.
Okay, no rush, at the right time. I understand it's an expense, and August is a difficult time to spend money. I do know that, but we really pushed through, in spite of the holiday, to get it done, because it feels like independent tutors are really leaning in at the moment. You know, last year and the year before, Yvonne, I don't know if you noticed this, it was really quiet in tutor communities.
Yeah.
And this year there's this sense of confidence and I think the word is ambition, you know, a sense of how we can grow and improve and develop, that I really wanted to be able to speak to and harness. So even though it's August, that's why I've done it now.
There's an awful lot of people coming on board on tutoring as well. I've noticed it's suddenly exploded this last year or so of suddenly lots of new people wanting to be in tutors and advertising their slots and things like that. And
yeah, I mean, look, it's coming from two places. It's coming from a need, but it's also it's going to be part of the future of education. I'm just about to sign up for Sal Khan's AI tutor to have a play with that. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, because it won't put us out of business. It will just help us to do the things that we're best at, the people stuff. Yeah.
I'm not.
But it will.
But
What's that?
I'm not convinced.
Convinced about
the AI side of things. I don't feel that we're still not there yet with AI.
No. But there's definitely kids. You know, we were talking about scarcity yesterday, and this assumption that tutors are in competition with each other for the work. But unfortunately, there is more need out there than there is supply of good tutors, and we need to be part of that solution.
But what worries me is the amount that are coming on board, but they're using it as a way of extra income, and they're not actually giving the quality of tutoring that should be out, that should, that people can get hold of. And that's what concerns me, is the fact that a lot of how much quality these new tutors are really offering.
Yeah, so well, we've done a lot of work and thinking about that in Qualified Tutor, because that's sort of the answer. That's the problem that we exist to solve. Yeah, to create quality assurance in tutoring, but in a bottom-up way rather than a top-down regulation way, and then showing parents how to choose the most experienced tutors based on their expertise. But there still is nothing wrong with a 16-year-old tutor.
No, I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
They have their place.
No, that's fine, because some of these 16-year-olds can probably relate to it better,
and it's as good for them as it is for the young learner.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have a problem with that, but I don't think that all of these people that are coming on board are, you just sort of wonder how much quality they can, not everyone's got that sort of quality to tutor, and that's what is the concern, is that everyone's just seeing it as a new way to make money, and they may not be actually giving the quality assurance, like this is part of the reason why I've come to you, because I know that if I've got that sort of behind me, that I know that parents will be confident. But because there's so many coming on board, and it's a bit of a minefield out there for parents now.
That's really, really helpful for me, because we're launching parent open days, and I'm trying to record the explanation for parents. And that phrase that it's a minefield is more true now than it's ever been before, because it's so easy to find a tutor and so difficult to find the right tutor.
Absolutely.
So these parent open days should be, practically speaking, they're an opportunity for parents to find the right tutor, because there'll be 4 maths tutors in the room and 6 science tutors in the room, and they'll be able to meet and select the one that's best suited to them. But there's also an education piece for parents in there, because once you've met with a group of serious tutors and you get a feel for who they are and what their approach is, you can't unlearn that. That once you know what it's supposed to look like and feel like, you can't take the wrong person.
No.
Well, we need to help you to not, but there's definitely a sense of educating the parents now.
Yeah,
it seems to be that's where we are, and we've definitely had some help from the NTP, because the NTP bringing tutors into schools was a great big seal of approval for the concept of tutoring. And then all of the studies that they've been doing recently, all the tuition partners have been putting a lot of time and money into advocating for the NTP. And what they've been proving is that parents like tutoring, children like tutoring, teachers don't quite know how to manage tutoring.
No.
But in theory, it's very welcome.
Yeah, and it could work very well, even in partnership with schools.
Yeah.
Especially with the funding sort of issues with funding, and so that the TAs within the schools are getting less and less, and therefore the children with SEND are beginning to suffer even more and not getting support even more. So you bring tutoring and do that as deliver packages and programs, it's going to help those children.
That's right. And we've also seen a shift towards the word intervention. So where we're talking about tutoring as an intervention, because that's the language that schools understand. But of course, it's not a language that parents like.
No.
I'd much rather have a tutoring session than an intervention session for my children.
We call it focus now. We don't call it intervention.
Nice.
We call it focus groups.
That's very nice.
Yeah. And parents are happier with that.
That's really interesting. I wonder how I would feel if well, my kids are taken out for all the groups all the time.
Yeah.
One of these kids is always walking through the doorway. He told me recently, my 11-year-old, that he sits in a desk by himself because he wants to. And I can just imagine all the tapping and fidgeting and banging that's caused him to be put on a desk by himself.
Well, if it helps him, then why not?
Human beings.
Absolutely.
Okay, my lovely friends, it's 11:59. Yvonne, it was so nice to get a chance to chat with you.
Yes.
Claire, thank you for jumping into the conversation. It was really lovely. And Dee, thank you for firstly being up for it, And secondly, being generous enough to open it out as well. Gospel and Tasmia, I'm glad that you listened in. Next time, go off screen, unmute yourself and join the conversation. We really, really want to talk with you. Thanks, guys. Wish me a safe journey home.
Safe travels home.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Yvonne. Bye, Claire.
Bye.
Bye, Dee. Thank you, darling. Bye, Tasmia.